Welcome everyone. Wait for people to come in. And we'll just wait a minute. Everyone arriving in. Very exciting morning. Can't think of a better way to spend a March morning. Just wait for attendees to level out a little bit, and then I'm going to play you a lovely video, which I actually found very relaxing this morning. Okay, I think we're sort of leveling out there. So I'm going to press play on the video and leave you to this for a couple of minutes. Well, that was stirring stuff. Very happy to welcome you all here. I see we've got a good number of attendees. I trust you've all got your samples, and I'm going to do a brief introduction, and then we're not going to hesitate to dive into some Chablis talk and tasting. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to our webinar today. Bring on the day that we could all be in one room. I was saying to Didier earlier, it's not the same without him in Ireland. He's always promised to come. We'll get him one day, but we have him here, which is fantastic. We're very honored to have you, Didier. Thank you. So, I mean, I know William Fevre is a long-standing favorite amongst Irish palates, and globally it's recognized as one of the best Chablis producers. So we are really lucky to have this amazing range of 2018 Premier Cru. This isn't through luck, though. This is through perseverance, innovation, and progress. The team at this domain, they work really hard to make sure that they are the best and continue to be the best. During this webinar, we will be tasting all the Premier Cru, but we'll also be touching on the work that William Fevre is doing to ensure a future for the wines of Chablis in times where the handling of the increasing extremities of the climate change and climate conditions make vineyard decisions much, much more difficult than they were in the past. Vintage variation is normal, but today's challenge, and something we will touch on, is the variation of weather within a vintage. But let's move on to the main show. Didier, bonjour. Thank you for coming. We've often discussed you
Bonjour,
coming to Ireland, and you're here in our screens today. So tell us a little bit more about how you came to become winemaker at William Fevre.
Bonjour, Harriet. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you today. It's a long history for my my career. I'm from southwest of France, and I decided to start my career in Burgundy. And I started with Bouchard-Père-Fils in '92. 29 years now.
Wow.
During 6 years, I worked with Philippe Roux, the cellar master of Bouchard-Père-Fils. And in '98, when Joseph Henriot purchased William Fevre estate, he proposed me to join him for this new challenge in Chablis, and I arrived 23 years ago in Chablis, and now I am in charge of the estate in vineyard, cellar, everything.
So it's been a long road, and your experience has given you this wealth of knowledge now, which is very exciting. And we're going to pull on that today, Didier, and actually for our audience, if you have any questions at any point, please just use the question and answers sort of app on this, and we'll come back to you on that as soon as we can. And I never introduced Cyril, who's sitting at the top of our screens. Cyril Harmel is the export director for Maison Henriot, and Cyril is quite new to the role, and he's brought with him a dynamism which is really exciting. So welcome, Cyril. I hope you're not too chilly sitting in your vineyard up there. It does look like these guys are in the vineyard. It's very clever. Actually, will you give us a little look at how you're set up in the room is, Cyril? How clever is that? You see? Yeah. So we can't be in Chablis, but we are.
Behind us, we are in the Vaud-Désir Valley.
Okay, Vaud-Désir. So when we're tasting
Vaud-Désir, yes, Vaud-Désir Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you see, it's just, we're almost there. We can almost imagine it. I think that's brilliant. I need a screen like that for my office. I have my Chablis bottle, I have my rock, I have my book, but no, I don't have my screen. Cyril, did you hear that screen? Okay, so I've got a PowerPoint, as you guys who are watching know. I do go with PowerPoints because it does help. So I am going to share my screen again. Let me just, the joys of technology. There's always a slight delay with old Harriet getting in there to get her screen shared. Here we go. Okay, so there is the first screen, and that's brilliant. Let me just make sure I've got it. I'm just lost a bit there. Okay, perfect. So this is a little bit of housekeeping just before we get going. Try to have 6 glasses in front of you if you can. Or if you can't, at least 2, so that you can do comparative tasting. I've introduced Didier and Didier's long esteemed career at William Fevre. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Here we go. So I'm going to just hand over, which is wonderful because, I teach quite a lot and I love Chablis and I love Burgundy, but it's just great to have a real expert in the room. So Didier, I'm going to let you talk about the aspect of the vineyard, the valley positions, and the soil that makes Chablis so special.
Yeah. Chablis is located in the north of Burgundy between Dijon and Paris. And it's a very specific and unique place in Burgundy. Chablis is one grape variety, Chardonnay, and one unique soil called Kimmeridgian soil. This soil from Jurassic period, when the sea covers the country, it was 150 million years ago, the end of the Jurassic period. And at this period, the sea covers the country, and now we find in the soil clay, marl, limestone, and oyster shell. Small oyster shell called Exogyra virgula. And this soil is unique. You can find this soil in the south of England. The name of Kimmeridge is the name of a small town in the south of England. You can find Kimmeridgian soil in Sancerre in some place of Champagne, in Aube, the south of Champagne, and Chablis. But Chablis is the unique place in the world you can find Chardonnay and Kimmeridgian soil together. And the expression of Chablis is not the expression of Chardonnay, but the expression of the soil, Kimmeridgian, the freshness, the finesse, the elegance, the minerality from Kimmeridgian soil.
This is the secret, isn't it, Didier? It's the Kimmeridgian soil, which, as you mentioned, though, there's similarities with the soil in Champagne as well, in the south of England, and actually
some place in Champagne, not everywhere. In the Aube, south of Champagne.
And it's that beautiful sort of perfumed minerality that the soil brings with it, isn't it? That's so important. And I know a lot of people sort of say there's no such thing as terroir, but I always say when you try a glass of Chablis, it's terroir in a glass. And we're going to see that today, aren't we?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And this terroir gives the potential for aging. Chablis can Chablis aging very well, and the terroir, the Kimmeridgian soil, give this aging potential. It's very important to understand, because many people drink Chablis too young. Chablis young is interesting. You have the food, the freshness, you have the varietal expression. But if you want to understand and to discover the true Chablis, you need to wait 3-5 years minimum when the secondary aroma arrived.
Yeah, and this is the problem with Chablis, because your region is so small and everyone loves the wines. The wines sell out en primeur or in the first 1 or 2 years of being released, and then people drink them because they love them. And it's very rare to have the older vintages. I have to admit that my Christmas box might have included a little bottle of the Bouguereau 2013, and I've been. It's showing so amazing. I've caravaned a glass every day this week to warm up for this. But it could have gone. It was still so young though. I mean, a Grand Cru Chablis can last for 20 years, can't it?
Yeah, no problem. No problem. If you have a good cellar, you can keep your wine. No problem. Chablis have a good aging potential.
Yeah, a good cellar and a good willpower. Okay, I'll let you talk about the Chablis region, and a lot of our listeners will know obviously about the Chablis region and the generic Chablis, and the fact that only a very small portion are Premier Cru and Grand Cru. Didier.
Yeah, Chablis is 4-level appellation. It's like a pyramid, you can see. The first level is Petit Chablis, is 1,000 hectares big. The second level is Chablis, the heart of the area. The Chablis village is approximately 3,500 hectares in total. And after that, you have the Chablis Premier Cru, only 770 hectares, 40 different Grand Cru, Premier Cru, 40 climats. And today we will taste 6 different climats of Premier Cru. And the top of the pyramid, 7 Grand Cru only 100 hectares, only 2% of the total, very small.
And how many Premier Cru do William Fevre have, Didier?
We own. I don't know exactly.
Sorry. But it's not the full amount. It's not 40.
We own 16 different climats of premier cru, but we put on the label only 7 premier cru.
Okay.
Because in Chablis, you have 40 climats, but you have 17 premier cru umbrella. It's not easy to understand, but the professional during the 60s decided to simplify la compréhension, the understanding of the area, to blend by valley some climat of premier cru. For example, if I take Vaillon premier cru, Vaillon is one climat in a big valley. In this valley, you have 6 different sub-climats. If you are producer in Vaillon, you can put on the label Vaillon. But if you are producer in another climat in this valley, like for example, one sub-climat called Minot. If you are producer in Minot, you can put on the label Minot, or you can decide to put on the label the name of the valley, Vaillon. You understand? It's not easy to explain for me in English.
No, that was really clear. That was very clear.
And today we taste Fourchaume and Voleran, and is a true example. For Voleran is a subclimat of Fourchaume.
Okay, see, even I find these complexities a little bit, you forget how the relationship works between the climat. But this is why we have to drink and enjoy a lot of Chablis to understand. It's the only way to remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Didier, tell me this: do you ever get bored of Chardonnay? You've made Chardonnay for the last, 2 decades. Or 1 decade really, but what have you trialed with other grape varieties, or is Chardonnay, as people call it, the winemaker's variety? It just gives so much that you can never get bored of it.
No, I am not tired with Chardonnay. Chablis, we said before, is many different places, many different climate. We have only one grape variety, yes, but different face, different slope, different place, different valley, and each plot is different. We own on the estate 130 different plots. For each premier cru or grand cru, we can have 8-10 plots different. And each plot gives a different wine. We have only one grape variety, but the difficulty is to have the true expression of the terroir. And the grape variety is not essential. Excuse me, my pronunciation is not good. And the most important for us is the place, the slope, the face, the soil, and the grape variety is secondary. It's important, but yes. And in Burgundy, in general, we have only one grape variety. For the red, is the same. We have only Pinot Noir. In Chablis, we have only Chardonnay. In Meursault, they have only Chardonnay too.
So you're a winemaker. You're a winemaker of terroir rather than Chardonnay as such. Yeah. So you know the terroir of Chablis like the back of your hand, Didier.
Our philosophy, if we have one philosophy, is the expression of terroir. I want to have in our bottle the true expression of the terroir. When you taste William Fevre range, we have, I think, and I hope, each time the true expression of the terroir, not the expression of the grape variety, not the expression of the winemaker. We don't make winemaker wine, we make terroir wine. It's very important to understand.
And Didier, tell me, with climate change and global warming, Another Chablis producer mentioned that that perhaps the terroir is taking longer to emerge because of these riper vintages. How are you finding that?
Climate change, definitely yes. But for the moment, I think it's a good thing for Chablis, not only Chablis, for the vineyards area in the north of Europe.
Yeah.
Quality for 20, 25 years now is better and better because maturity are better and better in Chablis, in Champagne, in Alsace, in Germany. Riesling from Germany are better and better now because the maturity is better. It's the same in Chablis. Today we have a very good maturity every year, but we are located in the north of France and we can keep a very good freshness. We can conserve a good acidity level, and with chimerigen soil, salinity and minerality stay. And we can make fresh and elegant Chablis, perhaps certainly with a better quality now because we have a better regularity with the maturity. 40 years ago in Chablis, people make 1 or 2 good vintage every 10 years. Now we have a better regularity and better maturity, and we can have a good maturity every year. But we can keep a very good freshness. In some other place in the world, global warming is really a problem. In some place like perhaps California, Australia, they make Chardonnay, a lot of Chardonnay, but Chardonnay have too much maturity, too high alcohol, and too much maturity, too high, and they make certainly a fat Chardonnay. And Chablis preserves the freshness. And when you drink Chablis, you open the bottle and you finish the bottle. It's easy to drink. It's fresh. The alcohol level is not too high, 12 to 13 maximum. And the salinity and the minerality give a freshness, and it's easy to drink compare another Chardonnay from other place in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about malolactic fermentation? While we're talking about warmer vintages, because that's a trademark of Chablis. In the future, will it still be your trademark? Because obviously with reducing acid levels.
We do malolactic fermentation every time. For me, it's necessary because for aging, malic acid is not very good. When malic acid age, you have lactic taste and is not very good for the expression of terroir. For me, malolactic fermentation is necessary in Chablis, and the challenge today for me is the harvest date. The choice of the harvest date is very, very important. With the global warming, maturity are higher compared 40 years ago, and we have for each plot a small window, two days maximum per plot. We do before harvest lot of maturity control during 1 month, minimum 4 maturity control per plot. We have 130. We do approximately 500 maturity control during the month before harvest. Our job, lot of job, but it's necessary if you want to have the good date for the harvest. And if you have a good harvest date with a good balance, you can preserve the freshness and the good acidity level. If you wait too long for harvest, you can make a fat wine because acidity shuts and you have too much sugar, too much alcohol.
Okay.
Harvest date is very, very important. Today, it's the challenge. For the harvest, we have a big team, 200 people during 12 days, because the harvest period is short compared 40 years ago. 40 years ago, harvest period was 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a half. Today, 10, 12 days maximum. Because with global warming, maturity are higher and concentrate.
And I think 2020 was one of your earliest harvests ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, we started for 24 of August.
Yeah.
Like Oswi. Oswi was the same date.
Okay, so it's not
the second time for us to start it in August.
And the springs are getting earlier as well, aren't they? So the seasons are changing.
Last year, at this period, bird break was here, and we had a lot of frost last year, and we use protection. We started to use protection for frost 23 of March last year, very early.
Yeah.
2 weeks with 3 weeks before normal date.
It's just everything is moving forwards, isn't it?
Yeah. 40 years ago, harvest date in Chablis was at the end of September or in October. Now, it's often in September and the first week of September, often.
And today, the vines is bud break appearing, or are you more normal this year?
No, for the moment not, but the temperature are increased, and I think next week we will have bud break. Next week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's been sunny in Ireland too, but if we had vines, they definitely wouldn't be about to break out of their little hibernation. Okay, I'm sort of keeping an eye on timing for our tasting because because we want to get into the tasting quite soon. So I'm going to move on a slide here. Hopefully that's done that. There we go. And this is just a little bit about William Fevre, about all the Grand Cru. I'll let Didier here. Over to you, Didier. Just talk about the holdings that William Fevre.
Yeah. Fevre family is one of the oldest family in Chablis. They started in the 17th century, and William started after his father in 1959. At this period, the estate was 7 hectares big, and William was a visionary person. He understood the potential for Chablis, and he replanted quickly during the 60s his estate. And during 40 years, he owned his estate. And in 98, he decided to stop. He was 70 years old. He had two daughters. He didn't want to continue after him. And he decided to sell his estate. And Joseph Henriot, the owner of Champagne Henriot, purchased the estate at this period. The estate was only 50 hectares big. And since we purchased some other plots, and now the estate is 78 hectares. We are not the largest, the biggest estate in Chablis. Some estate own 200 hectares in Chablis, but we are the largest producer in Grand Cru and in Premier Cru. The William Fevre estate is unique in Burgundy, unique in Chablis. We own 15 hectares of Grand Cru. It's 15% of the total is unique. And we own 16 hectares of Premier Cru, 46 hectares of Chablis Village. It's an amazing estate with a very old plots, very old vine. And this typicity give an advantage for our wines, because with old vines, we have often a small yield. And with our viticultural practice, we can have a very good expression of terroir and a very good minerality in our wines.
Yeah, and I think that that leads me on to, because it's that control of, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. It's that control of vineyards that actually allows you to make such great wines, isn't it? And what I love, and I'm going to go onto screen sharing your Instagram now, because I love, this is something we see, a very polished William Fevre, and we see, you know, wonderful presentations, but we don't see what, you know, unless we go looking, what you're doing in the vineyards in a more relaxed level. Like, I think you've got two donkeys who are your friends, Didier, in this next bit. So let me just share my screen here. Hold on, I'm just going to move. I have quite a lot of screens open, so it takes a little minute. Here we go. So I'm going to share the screen because I just love this. I thought it was just fantastic. Okay, so here we go. I'm sharing this one now, and I'm going to go into biodiversity in the vineyards. Hold on, I want to start this from the beginning. Those are your donkey friends. I'm going to start from the beginning though, because it's just brilliant, and it just shows, you know, that William Fevre may be quite a large company in Chablis, but you know, you're doing so much. I love the William Fevre logo on the beehive there. You know, there's so much going on that here, I'll keep moving across. Celebrate Earth Day, and we'll find the bees, the biodiversity is really important, and it's just lovely to see, you know. And here are Didier's friends, and Charlotte and Bebe, and yes. Didier's with them in the next one. There you go. And they actually work in the vineyards, don't they, Didier? Do they? I saw, was it a mule you had in the vineyard coming up here? Let me have a look. Hold on. That's definitely not an animal working in the vineyard. The geese, the goats. Yeah. Here we go. So you have mules working in the vineyard.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. In 2000, we decided to stop to use chemical products on the estate. And for him and for us, sustainability is very important. It was important to stop to use chemical. We have a reflection for the future, and we want to transmit an estate for the next generation with no
baggage, just healthy and yeah.
And it was important for me to stop to use chemical. We started organic practice in 2000. In 2006, 100% was organic, but we decided at this time to don't have the certification official. And during 15 years, we had organic practice, but with no certification. We started biodynamic viticulture in 2010. Today, all the Grand Cru and Premier Cru have biodynamic practice. And last year, we decided to start official certification for organic viticulture. And in 2023, all the estate will be organic certificate.
Certified organic. Yeah.
Certified. Excuse me.
That is really exciting, Didier, because I know how hard it is with your climate is a little bit more marginal than most. So farming organically is much more difficult than, say, in a nice sunny climate like the south of France or in Chile or somewhere like that. You know, it's not just.
In Chablis is really a challenge, and William Fevre will be the largest estate with a certification organic in Chablis in 2023. And we have one certification from 2014. It is HVE certification. It's a French government certification. It's not organic certification, but this certification is very interesting because this certification increases biodiversity on the estate. And we started in 2010 to have another production on the estate. We started with the bees, with chicken, Now we have another animal like a mule, donkey, sheep, geese, goats.
Yeah, it's a proper farm.
With this animal, we do éco-pâturage. I don't know the word in English. We have some land around the vineyards, and before the animals, we use tractor for cut the grass. And 4 or 5 times during the year. It's a big land, is 3 hectares big. And we decided a few years ago to use animal for cut the grass. And it's better compared to tractor. We don't use fuel, petrol, and yeah, it's better. We produce honey and we sell the honey in our shop. For example, we planted a lot of tree and lot of orchard tree around the vineyards. This tree is very important for biodiversity, because if you have tree with fruit, you can have some insect, some birds, many things. It's very important, the biodiversity. If you have only one culture in the land, is very bad for biodiversity, because you don't have insect, you don't have bird, you don't have many things. And when you planted another things, when you have animals, you have a better biodiversity, and it's better for the balance of the life.
That's it. It's the natural balance, isn't it? And sort of biodiversity corridors. And I'm a real fan of the HVE, the Haute Valeur Qualité Environnementale. Oh, oui, merci. My French is really bad. But I'm working on it. I haven't had an excuse to go to France, sadly, for a while. So, but I think it's fantastic. I almost think it's a little bit better than organics, because it pulls in this biodiversity and the surrounding of the vineyard and the importance of the other nature and animals and the symbiotic relationship they have. So it is one, if you haven't heard of it, you should look it up, because it is, and William Fevre have the highest level of this HVE qualification, which is certification, which is really important.
And we were the first estate in Burgundy to have this certification.
Front runners. Very important too. And Didier, I have a question from Jean-Baptiste on the question and answer, which is, does the biodynamics help you have a better expression of the terroir?
Yeah, for me, biodynamic practice are very important, in particularly for the soil. We use 500 is boost de corn. And boost de corn increase matière organique and life in the soil. And I think with biodynamic methods, we increase energy and minerality in our wines. And it's very interesting. It's subjective, because we don't have indicator.
Indication.
Measure. Yeah. To measure biodynamic impact, but it's a sensation. When we taste the wine, I think we have better and more energy in the wine, better minerality, certainly more precision in the wine with biodynamic method.
Yeah, it was a good question, and there was a study, there is an ongoing study saying that perhaps it's not the soil that gives you the terroir expression in the wine, more the microorganisms in the soil that are in that specific type of soil that are giving the terroir expression to the wine. And that's why they're so important. And biodynamics is obviously encouraging that, isn't it? So, but nothing is scientifically proven at the moment. So where it's guesswork, but you're doing something right, Didier, anyway. So, but everyone must be salivating at the moment. I'm going to screen share again, and we're going to flick and have a quick look at the Grand Cru vineyards. don't get overexcited, everyone. As Didier said, the Grand Cru vineyards are a little bit too young to be tasting now, so we'll leave them sleeping. But Didier, just a brief word about the Grand Cru and the spectacular amphitheatre that is that houses these amazing little Grand Cru, basically.
The Grand Cru area in Chablis is only 100 hectares, one piece of land, 7 different Grand Crus. Blanchot, L'Éclos, Valmure, Grenouille, Vaudésir, Preuss, Bougros. This place is close to the river, and the river, called Le Serein, have an impact of the typicity. And the Grand Cru are the Grand Cru because they are close to the river. Is the closest place in Chablis with the river. And the Grand Cru are here is not an hazard. The river is very important in the expression of the Grand Cru. We own 15 hectares. We are present in 5 Grand Cru different. We are in L'Éclos, we are in Valmure, we are in Vaudésir, Les Preuss, and Bougros. For example, in Bougros, it's 15 hectares big. We own 2 different places in Bougros, and we make 2 different bottles. We own 6 hectares. We have the plateau on the top of the hill. Côte Bougros, yes. And Côte Bougros from the 2 plots close the river with a south-facing steep slope. And this place gives wine with a strong minerality, very good acidity, very good maturity. Is wine for Chablis lovers, for collectors. Is a wine with power, with energy. It's very interesting.
Very special. Well, I'm going to move us on because we're going to talk about the Premier Cru and your fantastic map here, which shows us exactly where we're going to be tasting. Yeah. So I think perhaps we should actually start the first wine, Didier, which is the Montmain Premier Cru. And we should start that and talk about that, but I'll leave the map up so you can reference, or actually, hold on, the slides that you guys have are really impressive. So it's probably easier to have the actual slide there. Okay, so I hope you've all armed with your glasses and there's a bit of love going on for a 2009 L'Éclos on the chat, which was the best Chablis experience of this listener's life.
If you want, Ariette, we can keep the
big map?
The map before, please.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Because in this map, we have the different climate. We can see, for example, in Montmain, the climate of Forêt and Buteau. And it's better for me to explain with the different climate, if you want.
Okay, perfect. So you can sort of direct. I can try and make it. I don't know if I can make it bigger, but
Montmain is located on the left bank of the river, and Montmain have a southeast facing. It's a big Premier Cru, approximately 90 hectares big, and we own here 3.8 hectares. And we own 10 different plots, and we are based in 3 subclimates. 3 subclimates. One subclimat called Buteau, another called Forêt, and the last subclimat called Montmain. And I explained you before the climat and the subclimat and Premier Cru. Montmain is the name of one subclimat, but it's also the name of the valley. If you are producer in Buteau only, you can put on the label Buteau, or you can decide to put the name of the valley, Montmain. You understand what I mean?
And this gives you more blending opportunities, doesn't it? So it can make,
if you blend different subclimats, you must to put on the label the name of the valley. We produce we have plot in the 3 different subclimat. We blend the subclimat and we put on the label the name of the valley, Moma. Okay. We have 1/3 of each, 1/3 of Buteau, 1/3 of Forêt, 1/3 of Moma. Buteau is located au fond, at the bottom of the valley. It's a cool place. We finish the harvest in this place every time, and Buteau give fresh and mineral wine with a high acidity level. Forêt is located in the middle of the valley. This place give very elegant and fruity wine. And the third place, Moma, is a flat land with a deep soil, lot of clay, and this place give rich and large wine. We blend the 3 places in this wine, and every time Moma give very elegant and fresh Chablis. He show very well when he's young, but he aged very, very well. 18 was a generous year, early and high maturity year. The season was absolutely perfect. The summer was hot, and we started harvest 3 of September with a very good yield. After 10 years with a low yield, 18 was normal. We produce 50 to 55 hectoliters per hectares. It's very good for us. Normally, we produce a low yield, 30, 35 hectoliters. With 18, we have a normal yield, 50, 55 hectoliters per hectares. But maturity was absolutely perfect. The fruit was perfect. No disease, no botrytis. And we find today in the wine, the precision and the purity of the terroir. The fruit was absolutely perfect. We vinify this wine 35% in the barrels, the rest in tank. But we don't use new oak in our vinification. Never new, only all barrel average 4 to 5 year old. Our barrel from Bouchard-Père-et-Fils, after 1 to 3 years they use, and after we keep the barrels, and we keep the barrels during 8 years. It's important to use barrel, to use oak for exchange, for oxygen, but we don't want to have oaky taste in our wine. Oxygen give a better complexity, give less reduction in the wine, and give more precision.
Yeah, and
20 years ago, we used a lot of new, and we decided to stop to use new in 98 when we arrived.
Because new oak obstructs the terroir, doesn't it? It really hides the true secret of Chablis.
When you use too much oak, too much new oak, you make winemaker wine. You lose the expression of terroir, and it's not our philosophy, and is not the expression of Chablis. We want to preserve the freshness, the minerality in our wines.
I find this wine is, it's very focused, and the stony sort of, it's not austere, but it's a lot more sort of cooler. You can really see that it is a cooler site on the palate. But it just goes on forever. I love the evolution on the finish. It's lovely. Really, really good. Yeah, it definitely whet my appetite for a bit of Premier Cru Chablis on a wee Thursday morning.
18 make a very approachable wine because maturity was very good. Acidity level is not very, very high, but the freshness is here. And this vintage give very elegant wine, very approachable, very interesting today because you have the food, the freshness, but the aging potential is very, very good. And I think after 5, 10, 15 years, the wine will show very well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think I'm going to have to hide a little bit away behind some other wines, because this is the thing, we drink it too early, and this is delicious now. But just, I love when it evolves into that mushroomy kind of umami kind of state that, you know, that gives you that beeswax kind of note. The evolution of Chablis is something that perhaps we should study at school. It's just such a wonderful story. No, that's really, really lovely. I wonder if anyone has any comments on please feel free to share any comments on that. I don't want to, no, everyone's a bit quiet. I'm sure we'll get lots of comments at the end of comparisons. So let's move on to, here we go, onto the, we're gonna move on to the Vaillant, which is wine number 2. And Vaillant is, I think it's a particular favorite in Ireland because it's very easy to say. And it sounds very impressive when you say it. But I love it because I find it quite racy. And I do like that about Vaillant. It's always like, it's a little bit angular, it's very fresh, it's very direct. So I'm looking forward to tasting this one. Over to you, Didier. Would you like me to go back to I'll go back to the first map. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want, yes, please.
Yeah.
Vaillant is very close Montmain. The valley just behind Montmain is 300 meters from Montmain, very close. We have the same facing, southeast, but the difference is the slope. Montmain is little bit flat, Vaillant is steeper, 20-25 degrees. And in this place, we have early maturity and high maturity. We started every time our harvest in Vaillant. Because with the steep slope, we have better sun exposure and early bud break, early flowering, and early maturity. If you wait too long for harvest this place, you make heavy and fat wine. And the harvest date, I said before, is the most important thing if you want to preserve the identity and the freshness in your wine. And Vaillant, we started early harvest every time. This wine shows very well, very approachable. You have in the nose lot of marine nuts and fruity, mature expression. Yeah,
it's almost unctuous in its character.
Little bit citrus, lot of peach, and you have in this wine the maturity. But this wine show very different after a few years. During 3-5 years, you have the varietal expression, but after that, with secondary aroma, minerality increase year after year. And Vaillant, this terroir, aging very, very well.
Yeah, I love it's a little bit more gentle on the nose, but then on the palate it has that perfume that's a little bit like the sort of the perfume of champagne that is the perfume of minerality. And I think that's why I love it, because even though it's concentrated, it's very feminine, isn't it? Yeah, feminine. It's just very, very elegant. It's lovely.
Very elegant.
I think it's lovely. Yeah, really, really good. Really good. I love that wine. Yeah, that's showing beautifully. The 18 vintage is, it's just really exciting because you have the extra ripeness, but to be able to contain the wines like that is really, really exciting.
You have lot of salinity in the mouth, and this wine give a lot of saliva.
Yeah.
Saliva.
Yeah.
And for me, saliva is one sign of minerality. If you have a lot of saliva aftertaste, you have a mineral wines. Definitely, with Chablis is a sign. Yeah. Wait.
You mentioned earlier that the terroir gives the acidity to the wines, and I noticed a few regions saying that at the moment, and it's very true. that terroir and that minerality in the soil it gives the perception of acidity in warmer vintages. So it is a winemaker's best friend in these top regions. Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Global warming is important, but the terroir is important too. And Kim soil increase the freshness in the wine, increase the minerality, and give a very good balance with the high maturity period.
Yeah, it's very lucky and very special. So I haven't had any comments. I think everyone is just thoroughly enjoying tasting these amazing wines, guys. Well, I hope they are. We have very little samples over here because we have a huge audience. But actually, I was looking at them a little bit dismissively, and actually they give you plenty to taste from. So I'm very relieved. So we're going to go on to the Chablis Mont de Milieu Premier Cru. So I'll go back to my map here. There we go. I'm like sort of...
We are now on the right bank of the river, close the Premier Cru Montée de Tonnerre. Mont-Milieu is a sunny terroir with a south facing, middle slope, 15 to 20 degrees. It's a sunny terroir with high maturity, not really early harvest. We harvest Mont-Milieu in the middle of the harvest time, but the maturity in Mont-Milieu every time are very high, and this place give large and rich wine with power, with richness. It's a terroir for aging. It's a big wine with a lot of structure. We own here 0.5 hectares, one plot, and very, very old plots from 52. The plot was planted in 1952. And the yield are very, very small every time. In 18, we produced only 35 hectoliters per hectare.
That wine, when you say it's old vines, you can really feel them on the palate, like the concentration and the sinew in the wine. And when you were talking about it being sort of quite full-bodied, quite ripe, it really is. But again, you've got that sort of that minerality dancing around the palate, lifting the perfume. This is a masterclass in how to get Chablis right, guys. This is really lovely to do. It's such a pleasure. Thank you. But old vines.
You have a rich wine, but not fat. You have energy and freshness in this wine.
Yeah,
it's not fat, but you can taste the richness, the large mouth, the power, but it's not fat. You have a very good balance.
Yeah, no, they are beautifully balanced. And tell me, Didier, how old are your oldest vines in William Fevre?
The oldest from Montée de Tonnerre, and he was planted in 1936 by William Fevre.
Okay.
The oldest plot, yes. 85-year-old today. Yeah, very
That's
old.
amazing.
Plot. Yeah. And we have many plots from 40s. In Les Clos, for example, 50% of the total for us was planted by William Fevre during the 40s, 47, 48.
Wow. It will be a sad day when you have to grub them up and plant new vines.
Yeah.
How do you make that decision? Is it a balancing of the yield and the quality?
We have a replantation program on the estate for 20, 30 years. We know what we change in the future. It's important to know that, but we decide to replant one plot when the production is too low. After, depends the place. We can replant one plot after 50, 60 years if the production is not good. and we have another plot like Montée de Tonnerre or Les Clos. We want to preserve this plot because their production are good, not very high, but good, and they present an high interesting level for the blend for the wine.
Yeah.
But if the production is too low, we can decide to replant.
Yeah, which is a sad day. But do you plant different for the nerds like me out there, Didier? What clonal selections do you plant?
We started 15 years ago to select a massal selection on the estate. We have a nursery with a massal selection, and today we replant only massal selection on the estate. Our massal selection from Montée de Tonnerre, from Les Clos, from Voleran, and from Vaillon. Okay. We have 4 different plots, and we selected in this plot massal selection, and we replant in nursery. And today, when we craft plant for replant, we use massal selection only. Very important to preserve the identity of the old variety. Very important for us.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who don't understand massal selection, it's basically selecting the best vines in a vineyard that are the most resistant to disease and things like that, and marking them, and then
we selected the best vine during 3 years. We select in one plot. We select during 3 years, year after year. And after we take some cane, we analyze the cane for disease. Mm-hmm. If they have disease, we don't use. If they don't have, we can replant.
Yeah. And it's obviously very effective. So I'm going to move on to, here we go, the next one, which is the
Fourchaume.
Fourchaume. I have Fourchaume. Yeah, Fourchaume. So over to you again, Didier.
The other map, please.
Yeah, sorry, Debbie dropped the ball there. I don't know how many of the audience know who Debbie was, but she was Paul Daniels' eager assistant.
This one is very interesting because you can see on the map Fourchaume and Voleran. Voleran is a subclimat of Fourchaume. When you are producer in Voleran, you can put on the label Fourchaume or Voleran if you want. For us, we have the 2 cases. We decided for one part to put Voleran on the label and the other part Fourchaume. We own 8 different plots, and during maturation in tank or in barrel, before blending, we select one part for make Voleran and the other part for make Fourchaume. Normally, we make Voleran with the best expression of this place, and we select the best plot for this cuvée. But our Fourchaume from Voleran. Voleran is a very small and specific place because it's only 17 hectares big in total. And Voleran is located on the Grand Cruel. It's the only Premier Cru on the Grand Cruel. And Voleran have the same soil and the same exposure than Crus. And Voleran give wine with a Grand Cru structure, rich, large, with power, with complexity, with good acidity level. And you can start to taste in this Fourchaume this potential. It's a very rich and complex wine with a rich and full body, but not heavy, very elegant, very pure. It's a beautiful wine for aging, very approachable today, but you can imagine the potential.
On the nose of this, people say you can't pick up volcanic soil, and obviously it's not volcanic soil, but it has that kind of, that minerality, doesn't it?
you have minerality, flinty notes, little bit smoky, very complex nose.
Yeah.
And in mouth, you have grapefruit, citrus, very elegant and fresh wine, but with energy.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's like a ballet dancer dancing around your palate. It's you can feel the power, but you can feel how much of it. It's actually the one wine that I've seen that really isn't ready to be looking at yet. It's so young. It's so you know, it's not precocious. It's so young.
Lot of salinity, very fresh wine.
Yeah, it's that again is a lovely one. We have a lucky viewer who has a case of Grand Cru, the Côte Bougereau 2015. So he has a case of what I have a bottle of here, and he's just wondering when is the best time to drink it, Didier?
For 18 or for
15?
15. 15 show very well today, but you can wait 5 years more, no problem. And with 5 years more, you will have a better complexity and a better expression of terroir with, I think, after 5 years more, the expression start to have tertiary aroma like truffle, mushroom, marine nuts, more complex nuts after a few years more.
It's when that mushroom comes through that you know you're on a winner. I know.
For example, you speak about 13 before. 13 start to have this expression.
Yeah, and it's just like, to me, it's just, I mean, I just love that. I'll never forget when I was younger, Didier, my father has always been a big fan of Chablis and William Fevre specifically, and we'd have Sunday lunch and he would bring me a glass of Grand Cru if it was a special occasion or something, and I was a brat of an 18 or 19-year-old, and he'd say, smell that, it's amazing, and I'd be like, I can't smell anything, I don't know what you're talking about. And then it was only a few years later that I realized that really to appreciate Grand Cru Chablis, you have to have a little bit of taste and also patience and time to just sit and think about what it's showing you rather than expecting it to jump out of the glass and embrace you. I think that was something that's it took me a decade to learn that, and I'm planning on spending the rest of my life continuing to learn how to appreciate Chablis in a big way, and I hope everyone else is. Okay, so let's move on to the next wine, which is, we've done for show Monte de Tonnerre. Here we go. So over to you again, Didier. I'll go back to the map. Hold on. There you go.
Monte de Tonnerre is located just close the Grand Cru area, and Monte de Tonnerre is certainly for me the most mineral premier cru in Chablis. This terroir gives the true expression of Chablis and is the place for Chablis lovers, definitely. We own here 2.2 hectares and we are located in 3 different places. One place called Pied d'Alou, and Pied d'Alou is on the top of the hill with east facing, and this place gives wine with a high minerality, high acidity level. The second place called Chapelot. Chapelot is located at the bottom of the hill with south facing and deep soil. This place gives rich and large wine. And the third place called Côte de Bréchin, have west facing, is located on the top of the hill, and here we have the oldest plot of the estate from 36. And this place gives concentrate wine with a very good freshness. We blend in Monte de Tonnerre the 3 places, and the blend gives this wine, very elegant wine, like a crystal, very elegant, very pure, with a rich body, because vineyards are old, the yields are not very high. In this vintage, we produce 45 hectoliters per hectare. And organic and biodynamic practice increase this minerality, and you have a very fresh and elegant wine. It's this terroir aged very, very well and give a lot of complexity and a lot of mineral notes.
I just love the textured, grippy feeling on the palate. I think the palate of this one has been the best so far. It just the way it stands up to itself and gives you that expression of minerality. We're so lucky to taste these. I keep just going back and thinking of the other ones and coming back to this one. Am I right in thinking that Monte de Tonnerre, it gets a little bit windswept?
Sorry?
It gets quite windy on Monte de Tonnerre?
Windy? No. Not really windy.
Yeah.
But with climate change, we have now for 10, 20 years, certainly more wind compare the past.
Mm.
And this wind have certainly an impact because often before harvest, the wind concentrates the fruit, concentrates the sugar, concentrates the acidity, reduce the yield, but give certainly a very good balance in our wines. And we have certainly more wind now compared 40 years ago, definitely, yeah. Certainly.
And that's a good thing, although at flowering, obviously, it's not a good thing. Yeah, no, that was utterly delicious. I'm going to move on to... I'm finding it hard now to concentrate because I'm enjoying the wine so much. I find it very hard to spit a couple of them out because they are showing so well. So here we go. So we're on to, I can't believe we're on to the final wine, which is the Voleron.
Voleron.
Arranging myself so I can keep them in order. Go back to them.
Voleron, located in the specific place on the Grand Cru Hill, is a small terroir, 17 hectares big, and we own here 3.6 hectares. We are the largest producer in Voleron. This place is close Lépreuse, and this place have the same soil, lot of Kimmeridgian soil and lot of marl. The marl give in the wine the silky taste, the richness, the silky, soyeux, silky, and Kimmeridgian give the freshness and the minerality. And you have in this wine the two tastes, rich, large, but with lot of freshness, lot of energy, lot of complexity. This wine have a Grand Cru structure. It's not a Premier Cru, really. The structure is like a Grand Cru. You have power, richness, aging potential, lot of complexity.
Yeah, it's got that lovely, generous palate, as you say, but yeah, it's got that tight-knit, stony core that's rather like a sort of diamond waiting to be cracked out of the rock. It's and it's so long.
Choky wine.
Really, really special, really long. That is lovely. Everyone's very quiet out there. This is the thing about webinars. We can't sort of look at you in the eye and ask you for your opinion. So if anyone does want to say anything, do put it on the chat. I'm keeping an eye on it, along with moving along these slides. So that's a little bit, I'm actually a little bit gutted. I sort of want to stop here, sit it for a minute and not leave the last wine, because this means that we're moving on to the end of our webinar, which is very sad. So if anyone has any questions, obviously now is the time to ask, guys, but I'm just going to do a little bit of sort of publicity for William Fevre and the offers we have out at the moment, because you know, this is my father's white spittoon is empty. He's very lucky that he can sit and watch, but it is thanks to the father Anthony who managed to secure your wines for our company, and you know, without that, where would we be today? You know, he is our mentor. There, I'll get soppy about the father now. Sorry, I will move on. Okay, I must take the chat away because it's putting me off my line of stride. So here are the 18s that we've just tried. Sorry about the mark on the screen. That's to do with the PowerPoint, and I can't change it without sort of, you know, thinking about it. So we have an offer at the moment, and I don't know if a lot of you know, but our en primeur offers mean that we work off very low margins so that you can buy before the wines arrive. So the bad thing is that you have to pay before they get here, but so do we. But the good thing is that you're getting prices that are 20 to 25% below our trade list price. So if you do want to buy Chablis or Burgundy, it's definitely the way to buy. Normally we do it on the vintage that's out at the moment. So the vintage that's out at the moment is 2019, and we do have our Burgundy offer out till the end of April on that. So if you would like to secure some wines from that vintage, which by the way is an outstanding vintage, I've been lucky enough to try a few of the reds, and I can't believe how direct and fragrant the fruit is. And again, the acidity is still there. So, you know, we are lucky to have another very good vintage. It's different to 18 in that it's not so powerful. I think I'm right in saying. But these 18 Chablis, as you've seen, are spectacular. And normally we wouldn't be able to release them at en primeur pricing. But Cyril has been very generous and secured small allocations of each of these wines. So it is a really good opportunity to put some wine in your cellar. And I mean, you know, if you look at it, and you think of how much these wines are once they reach restaurant list, or once they reach, retailer, you know, you'd be mad not to take advantage. Sell your children, sell whatever, chop an arm off. I think this is my problem. I do these seminars, they end up spending money. So that's the offer, and I think you've all got that in your sheet. And then we have these wonderful packs, which we're also doing pre-arrival offer on, and they come in a wooden case with a glass clear front, and they are exactly what we've tasted. So if you have a friend and you want them to experience what you've just done and you're feeling very generous, then you could buy them one of these packs. We have the Premier Cru Chablis one, which is 200 for the case on our offer, and then the Grand Cru Chablis. I mean, you know, you'd really want to love someone for this, or yourself, treat yourself. Which is 345 for the 6 bottles. I'm going to stop being a saleswoman now. And I'm going to stop screen sharing as well, so you can see our guests again. Here we go. There we are. And I'm going to just check. Hold on. I think there's a chat here. Let's just double check. We have a favorite, which was the Monte de Tonnerre, because Martin loved the old vine expression, which is, yeah, definitely. I think that was one of my favorites. Well, they're all delicious. But I just want to thank you guys. Didier, you've always promised to come to Ireland. You're in Ireland virtually. One day we'll get you here on the soil and, you know, give you some oysters to have with your delicious Chablis, take you around our beautiful country. And just thank you so much. I learned a lot in that. I learned that wind, I didn't even think about wind. Wind is helping you at the moment. That is a really good news story from today. The challenge of today is the harvest date. So obviously you don't have your long August holidays. I'm sorry about that. But also malic acid and the fact that that does not age very well. So things like that, you know, I kind of knew, didn't know, you know, I hope that everyone had a little takeaway. Didier, you're full of information. You are a wonderful presenter, a wonderful winemaker, and thank you very, very much. And thank you to our customers for attending and listening. And please do spread the William Fevre love. And I hope that a little bit of Chablis has brightened your day, because I know it's really tough at the moment for everyone. And we need days like this. I love the fact I got rosy cheeks, the excitement of wine tasting in the middle of the day. We need days like this to buoy us along and remind us that you know, life is really, really great when you're invested in your wine. So thank you, Cyril, for helping me put this together. You're a legend, and I think that's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Harriet.
Yeah.
And thank you very much to all of you to join us today. I'm looking forward to actually be in Ireland and meet you all over there when we can travel again.
Oh, bring on travel again. I mean, you know, yeah. But listen, I can't wait for the whole hospitality sector in Ireland to open so that when you guys come over, you can come and enjoy what is the richness of our country, which is our food. We can't do the wine, but we can do the food. So thank you very, very much, guys. And thank you to everyone else. And goodbye from us.